I'm Amy Smollers. I am a certified high performance coach and CEO of Strategic Market Insight. And welcome to this week's episode of Reflective Fridays. So, as you all know, when you're watching this today or over the weekend or even next week, it is the start of a new year of 2016. And it's a really popular, common time to not only reflect on last year, but look forward to what you're going to do this year. And I take the time between Christmas and New Year's to have some downtime with friends and family. And I also use it as a time to reread some works or books for me that have just been impactful for whatever reason. And it clicked with me yesterday, and that's why I actually took time for this week's episode to put some things on paper, because there's three areas or three pieces that really just all of a sudden yesterday just kind of clicked and came together. And the first is thoughts versus chatter, and that's the title of this week's episode and kind of what sort of started all this thought process. The other is a 20-year plan, and the third is one big thing. And what I wanted to do with you today is to take a few minutes to go through what each of these three pieces are and explain what these boxes are, or pseudo dominoes could be. And along the way, get some great resources, because these are books or blogs that I read oftentimes. And to also share with you a free course that I've developed as well, that if you're interested can help you get through this process. So, the thoughts versus chatter, for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm going to grab these books here. Steven Pressfield has what I call the trilogy of books. And The War of Art, Turning Pro, and the one that I reread again this week was Do the Work. And they stick out because he's amazing in how he talks about if you want to do something and you feel you should be doing it, but you either don't do it or have procrastination. He calls it resistance. You know, he says we're not lazy. It's not that we can't do it, is that we find excuses or reasons to not do it. And giving it a label of resistance has been amazing for me, because A, I don't feel lazy if I don't do something right away, but also it puts it in perspective. And the piece for me that stuck out, hence the thoughts versus chatter, is the idea that he says, even if you're meditating and you shift through your consciousness and you notice thoughts arise and they go away, the next thought comes up and it goes away, he says these aren't thoughts, that they're chatter. It's what the Buddhists call monkey mind, or chatter, or reflexive regurgitation of whatever my parents or teachers said, or whatever I saw in the news or read in a book, or heard somebody talk about. It's really the idea that those aren't thoughts, that they're just chatter, they're regurgitation. They aren't original thoughts or you putting pieces together. They're chatter. Now I'll get to more of that in a moment. The next piece of this puzzle, as I call it, is the 20-year plan. And so a coach and mentor of mine, Bo Eason, and if you don't subscribe to his blog, boeason.com, I highly suggest subscribing to that. His work is amazing. And that's when I talked about at the beginning of setting goals and looking forward. It's not just a 1-year plan for me. It's a 20-year plan. And then I work through this of thinking, what am I doing to be able to reach and get to that 20-year plan? And he makes such a great point, because he talks about this, and especially the past couple blogs, these last 2 weeks, I'd say go back and look at those and watch those videos that he has. But it's the idea that 1 year, yes, it's a good amount of time, but for those really big ideas, big plans, 1 year is just not enough. 1 year may be a step to getting ready to go on that road to your 20-year plan. But having that broader plan in mind is so important. And that comes to the third piece here of the one thing. And that's another book that I took time this past week to reread was The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it, because they talk about there's the idea of the one thing. And this domino effect comes back from that. And they use in the book an example of a 5-year plan and working backwards from their 5 years. And so I've adapted it a little bit to correspond with Bo's 20-year plan because that's what I use. And the way this comes together is to say, okay, I have my 20-year goal, my 10-year goal, my 5-year goal. But then you work backwards, say, okay, what am I doing today that's going to get me to that goal? Or even smaller, what am I going to do today that's going to help me get through this week, to get to the month, to get me to my 1 year, to get to the 5, 10, and the ultimate prize of that 20-year plan. And reading these books and going through this process has been so transformational because when it comes to thinking of a project I'm going to do or an initiative or a place I'm going to speak or a workshop or online course, coaching, whatever it is, I step back and I say, okay, well, if I do this, how is this going to help me on my trajectory to my 20-year plan? And as a small example, so I do have my 20-year plan, but I'll share with you my 5-year goal to get me to my 20-year plan is to reach and serve 1 million women. And while some say that's a lofty goal, those are the fun ones to have because it gives you something to work toward all the time. But in the same sense, I'm very clear on that mission to reach and serve 1 million women in 5 years. So when someone asks me to help them out or to do a project or consult, it's very easy for me to step back and say, okay, is this going to help me on my mission that I have for my 5-year goal? And if it does, great. Well, now I'm going to go through that process to think how I can do it. But if the answer is no, well, sometimes that conversation may be harder to have to say, you know what, I appreciate the opportunity, but it doesn't fit in with what my mission and goals are at the moment. But let me help you, find someone else. It makes that conversation easier to have because I've taken the time and the energy and effort to think about what my 5, 10, 20-year goals are. So, okay, great. So we think about thoughts and chatter, have a 20-year plan, which is related to the one thing, and that's why I have these arrows here. But thoughts and chatter, like all of these, I think this is one for me that has been a big focus because, like I'm saying, this time of year, people are setting goals. And oftentimes they are goals or resolutions that either a friend is setting or, oh, let me try that. That sounds kind of interesting. Or, oh, maybe I'll give that a shot. But without the thought process of how it's feeding into your mission and goals. So you say, okay, I get it, Amy. Having the thoughts and being clear on that makes sense. But I hear a lot, okay, I know I should be doing this, but how do I even go about this process? How do I know what my one thing is? How do I know, or where do I start to develop my 20-year plan? And so for that, I would say go to the experts on that piece of it. So like I said, purchase the book One Thing. It's a great resource, and they talk about how you can, questions you can ask to set up, your one big thing. And Bo Eason is an amazing resource for going through the idea of the 20-year plan and what that entails and describing that that's not easy, but it's well worth it. And Stephen Pressfield's books are a great resource, and Do the Work. I am doing the work from Do the Work to get through a couple of my projects. So I would say go to the experts on that. But where I can help and where I've helped other folks is actually to sit down when it comes to goal setting. I've created a process. It's called 3 Steps to Goal Success. And they're fairly simple. The first, and it's really 3 questions when you think about it. It's, why is this goal important to you? Why does it have meaning? And just answer that question. What will it take to actually accomplish your goal? What's the effort? And then how will I measure my success and celebrate my small wins along the way? So it's 3 steps to goal success. And so while I am not in a position to say this is a goal you should have, or this is why you should have this 20-year plan, where I have helped people, and especially I put up a free online course, And you can check out the link below. It's amysmallers.com /shop. And the free course is there. And it's 3 modules. Each module has a 5 to 10 minute video and a downloadable worksheet to go through those 3 steps. Because those are steps that, for myself and people who are currently in the course and other coaching clients and consulting folks that have gone through this process, it's worked for them. And it comes back to the thoughts versus chatter. Because going through those 3 steps, that process, has really helped people separate out the chatter of this is something I should do versus this is something I want to do. This is something I feel I need to do for my own reasons, and to really go through that. So, like I said, if you are interested and feel you're ready for the 3 steps to goal success, please go to my website, amysmallers.com /shop. You can go there. Like I said, it's free, instant access. You can do the course in an hour. You can do the course in a week. You have lifetime access. It's there for you to use. You know, if you feel that you are comfortable with your goals or you're not really ready to go through that process yet, that's okay. I hope that I've at least helped you get through the idea that there is a difference between thoughts and chatter in your head and being able to separate that out. And it's so important to think about a one thing and your 20-year plan, to have that long-term look on life and to help you get through the process, because it is a domino effect. Because of what I do today is getting me on my path for this week, for the month, for the year, for 5 years, for 10 years, to 20 years. While it is not an easy road and it will be a lot of hard work, I know what I'm doing is getting me to my end goal and getting me to the accomplishment that I'm looking for in life. So, if nothing else, I hope you've learned from that, taken some great resources away from today's longer video, I understand, of Reflective Fridays, but I really wanted to take time to share with you the process that I go through on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis to really think about, reflect, and move myself forward. So with that, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, just click subscribe. You'll get, I promise, shorter videos than this on a weekly basis. And also, don't forget to start and end every day with a smile.